You shared with us the trauma that you and your family had experienced during the rocket attacks. There must be a relief and a little bit of concern about the situation now. Tell us about the night you've had and how you're feeling about the current situation.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks for that, Chris. Look, I can tell you this was probably the first calm night we've had for a number of weeks here, which is certainly something very welcome. Waking up this morning to the news of a ceasefire, certainly something that's very, very welcome and very positive. It's obviously a fantastic relief, to be out of the bomb shelters, to see your kids already out playing in the park. So it's certainly a wonderful feeling. But obviously, questions remain. Is this ceasefire something that is durable? Is it something that will last, or how long before possibly the next round of rockets come? But in the meantime, I think it's time to rebuild, time to assess, time to heal and mourn, and certainly look at how we move forward from here.
Tell me about that human impact first up, because my understanding from reading and talking to people is that while this conflict's been ongoing, as it was 7 years ago, people are pretty much staying close to their homes, not venturing out, because at a moment's notice, you might need to get to that bomb shelter. Presumably, you've been sleeping in the bomb shelter as well, so that now, if you know the ceasefire's in place, you can actually start to normalise your life?
Look, it varies a lot depending on where you are in the country.
Yep.
I'm in Tel Aviv, where we've certainly had ILF Chair rocket bombardments, and I've had to a number of times, wake up my family, including my 2 small children, a newborn, in the middle of the night at 2, 3 o'clock. 2, 3 o'clock at night, and rush to the bomb shelter. There are other families in the south of Israel, which is right by the border of Gaza, which they have basically 15 seconds from the time the rocket is fired to seek shelter. 15 seconds is not a lot of time, as you can imagine. So a lot of the families in the south, they've basically been camped inside the bomb shelters for days on end by now. And look, we've had the situation where in the last 8 or 9 days, something like 4,500 rockets have been fired. It's more or less an average about a rocket every 2 minutes. There's been 13 people here that have been killed, hundreds injured, thousands upon thousands of families, including mine, in shelter. But the statistic number that's just so jarring is that about 2/3 of the population of Israel, about 6 million people, have had to at one point be in shelter. 6 million people, that's the entire population of Sydney.
Yeah, it's just shocking. Of course, those rockets are now going further and more quickly than before, because Iran is supplying ever more sophisticated rockets. Tell us, as a human rights lawyer, how does the situation move on from here? How do the people of Gaza get some sort of aspiration for the future? How do the people of Israel look to some sort of permanent resolution without surrendering their security?
Yeah. Look, it's a delicate balance. I think both the people of Israel and certainly the civilians of Gaza deserve peace, deserve calm, deserve the prospect of a better future. But the fact of the matter is, it is the Hamas that is holding both the Israelis and the Palestinians in Gaza hostage. Hamas, you have to remember, this is not like the Salvation Army. Hamas is a brutal jihadist terrorist group. Australia recognises it as a terrorist group, as does much of the Western world and the international community. And what we've seen here has essentially been a double war crime by the Hamas. What have they been doing is they have been hiding behind Palestinian civilians in homes, in schools, in civilian structures, while firing at civilians indiscriminately in Israel, which is a double war crime in itself. So what I would ask of the international community, all those that truly do want a better future, not just for the region, for the people of Israel, and certainly for the people of Gaza, is that they need to call out unequivocally the Hamas and their sponsors, Iran, because we have to remember, Iran is the one that is underwriting and funding every single rocket that the Hamas is firing. So we have to bear that in mind. So those that do want peace, long-term peace, stable peace, peace for both the people of Israel and the people of Gaza, need to not only call out Hamas for instigating this brutal wave of terror and rockets and violence and holding both our people hostage, but also their sponsors, Iran, who are ultimately the ones calling the shots when and how to fire.
Arsen, thanks so much for joining us, and let's hope that this ceasefire holds long term.
Cheers. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Arsen Ostrovsky there, an Australian living in Israel, a human rights lawyer to boot. That personal impact is just telling, isn't it? So many people have suffered both sides of this conflict, and let's hope the ceasefire holds.